Hey everybody, it's Elisa from Elisa's Art Room. I just want to take a minute here and show you how I do these, what I call loyalty card charms. They're basically taking old loyalty cards that you have that have expired and you're not using anymore. And instead of throwing them away, we're going to make them into something pretty. Now, I originally got the idea for this on Saacibo. It's S-A-A-C-I-B-O. Dragona on there, she was doing it, and it's a great idea, so y'all check out her video. I will be sure to link it on my video, but I'm going to show you real quick because I wanted to have a video of it because people are always asking me, and it's just easier just to go ahead and do one. So that's what we're doing today. Hopefully it won't take too long, and we're going to get started, okay? So hopefully my sound is okay. I did not plug my mic in because I just didn't want to deal with the cord right now. So first I sand off the cards and I just put a little bit of tooth on them. Sometimes it takes the writing off, sometimes it does not. Right, and then just wipe them down with a cloth or something. And you're gonna want sponges of some sort to paint with because we're looking for a texture. You can use your makeup wedges. You can use a little sponge like this. This was from, I think, Martha Stewart, yeah. And something like that, a pouncy sponge, any kind of a sponge. These I've already painted. So first step is to paint it with something. Could be gesso, could be some sort of paint that will stick to plastic. I use a pointy tool to hold it, that way it's not so messy. And just put my paint on. Just like when I'm stenciling, I just do a little bit of offloading and then I just start putting the paint on. I will probably make one side of this a little bit thicker because I want to have that texture. I don't know if you saw how that gold was on that other one. The thicker it is, the better texture you'll get, so that you can get that little like mottled gold look, which I like for the back side. Now you don't have to do that on the back. You could put your design on both sides. That's perfectly fine. There's no reason you can't. But I have been to this point just doing the one side. I usually just do one side and let them dry. They dry pretty fast. So I'll probably grab one of those to use. It's already dry. I'm just going to do these few that I have here. I really hope my volume's okay. I'm not used to not having my mic, but I'm sitting at a different table. I'm not at my normal spot, so I wasn't really set up for it. This is where I sit and craft when I'm watching TV. I have like two spots. I have one that faces the TV and then one that faces the other direction for my live streams. Let's see, we should do these little ones too while I'm at it. I'm curious to see how those will turn out. I haven't done these little already shaped ones, the little mini ones, what do you call them? You see how old they are. That was a Toys R Us. It's very old. Some of these I've had for many, many, many years. And they were just sitting in a drawer. And I was like, you know what? Let's get rid of them. We do not need to hang on to those. All right, so set these over here. I'm going to grab this one and do the other side. Sorry, I'm trying not to move around too much. These I didn't do the other side. It's back from when I was homeschooling. All my kids have very much graduated now. So not homeschooling anymore. Don't need those. But granted, I'm sure they're expired. They're from at least, gosh, how old is my youngest? So she's like 22 now, I think. So yeah, it's been a while. All right, did I get both sides? I think I did. Yeah, okay. So we're gonna let that dry. So all I'm gonna do for this coat is I'm gonna use gesso because the paint was a little bit shiny. It's not super shiny, but it is a little shiny, and I really would rather it be matte. So I'm gonna go with gesso, and I've got a little dab of gesso sitting there. And I'm gonna do the same thing, except I'm gonna use this sponge. I think it has white, a little bit bigger cells, which tends to make more texture. I'll find out in a second. If it doesn't, I'll just jump back to my makeup wedge or something. Okay, I am back now, and I've painted 2 coats of gesso on these just to give it a good texture. So you should have one side now that has just the 1 coat on it, and another side that has 2 coats. You can see, oh, maybe you can see. Try to get the light to hit. Can you see the texture? Just a little bit of texture there. And that's what's gonna make that gold paint show up when we put that on. And you'll see when I get to that. So for right now, we don't want to mess with this side anymore. It's still technically drying. I dried it fast with the blow dryer. I'm gonna turn it over to the side where our image is going to be. So all these are gonna get flipped over to the other side. And what I'm going to do is pick out images for them. So I've just got a few here. Hopefully I have enough to cover it. So like I said, most of these are from LineDotArrow. Some of them are from Stamperia, and 1 or 2 I made, like this, the Eat Me and the Drink Me. I just made it on my Photoshop program. So. All right, so we're gonna glue all of those on there. So I've tried a couple different glues to do this with, and both work. E6000 or Gem Tack both work fine. Gem Tack is for, you know, rhinestones, crystal, sequins, and it'll work on fabric and a lot of different things. So it does work. It dries a tiny bit slower, I think, than the E6000. I'm not real sure. They both dry kind of slow, but they'll work. I get the E6000, that's the no odor version. I really don't like using this particular type of glue because it's more toxic, but I do use it when I have to. So we're gonna glue these on here. I'm trying to think about how I want to do it. I think I'm gonna try to spread the glue one at a time. If I can move it. Might need your pointy tool or tweezers. Might grab my tweezers. Okay. So, I don't know. We'll go with the E6000 today. Like I said, either is fine. I don't usually do this on my mat either, but I'll try not to be messy. Now, you can put it on the plastic or that. I don't think it really matters either way, as long as you get it in the right spot. This is go. Let me see if I have a spreader of some sort. Is that a hair? We're gonna use this little spreader. Just gonna try to put a decent layer of glue on here. Make sure I get all of it. Okay. It gives you a lot of wiggle room. So you can kind of move it around. I'll use the other side of this. Just tap that down. I try not to get glue on the outside, but nonetheless, it almost always happens. I had paper towels. Where'd they go? Just take off any excess that you can. It's still sliding. All right, that's good. Try and see which side I was using. I don't know if there's an easier way to do this, guys. This is just how I've been doing it. It's just kind of guessing. All right, so we'll let that dry. It'll probably take, I don't know, we'll see how it looks in a few hours. I'll come back to it, and then I'll show you cutting it out and putting the gold paint on. All right, so that'll be the next step. Hey everybody, I am back. These have dried now. We are going to continue. So I let them dry for about, it's probably been about 5 hours, which seems to have been enough. They're pretty much dry, I think. They look dry. We shall see. I've got my gold paint. This is some Deco Art Americana Decor in 24 karat gold. And I've got some sandpaper and a pair of sturdy scissors. And we're going to cut these out, and then we will punch holes in them. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of these out, and then I'll come right back. I don't want you to sit here and watch me cut all these, but you get the idea. Okay, now that I've cut all these out, the next step would be to sand them. So we're going to take some sandpaper, and you'll have to play around with what grit works best for you. But this is 100. And what I do is I just want to get these edges kind of rounded. So just kind of round them off a little bit, like that. I'll show you that up close in a second here. And you want to sand it now because you're going to paint it, and if you paint it first, you're just going to remove all the paint. So you can ink them as well if you'd like to. It's easier to set your sandpaper down and do it than it is to try to hold your item and sand it like this, okay? So just set it down and then just round off your corners. Now, if you have something like this card that has an edge on it, that one edge was cut a little too much, but we're gonna make it work. This grit might be a little too strong. Switch to, let's see. I'm gonna try this 300 and see if it's enough. I have some 150 somewhere, but I'm not sure where. So just like I said, play around with the grit. Some grits are just going to be too strong and take off way too much, and some grits won't be strong enough, and you won't get anything off of it. So just keep playing around with it, and I just kind of feel and see if it feels nice, not rough or anything. You know, I suppose you could leave your edges square if you wanted to, but I do think it looks a little bit better rounded. Okay. Think that while I'm thinking about it, because I'll forget for sure. I don't care if that ink's getting on the design, it's just going to distress it. So I'll sit here and do the rest of these real quick, and then I'll come back. Okay, I have now sanded off all the edges, and it's time to paint. So I have my paint here. I'm just going to get some out and put it on the plate. If I can open it. I haven't opened it in a while. this paint forever. Very, very, very long time. What is on there? Glue? Let's throw that away. Get another one. So I'm just going to get a little bit out. This is very thick, and it may just be because mine's really old, but it does not take much at all. It's super shiny. Let me grab a wipe. Okay, so I use my fingers. You can use whatever you feel like you need to, but I think my fingers work the best, so that's what I use. And I just get the paint on there to where it's very, very, very thin on my finger. And then holding it, I very lightly go over the back. I'm not pushing hardly at all. I'm just letting it hit those raised edges as much as possible. Okay, that's going to give you this kind of a look. And you're going to, you know, get thicker areas. It's hard not to do that, but just try to kind of keep it light. Let's see if I can do this. See how if you just barely touch it, you get those nice raised areas. And that's why we put that gesso on there with that sponge, so that we get that little bit of texture and this gold will pick up on it. And that just gives a nice finish to the back of these. It's what I like. You don't have to do it like this, but I think it looks pretty. And if you were doing something that, you know, gold just didn't match, you could use silver. That would be pretty as well. Or you could just leave them plain black. There's no rules, so do what you like. But I do the backs first. So let me do all the backs real quick, and then I'll come right back. Okay, I've painted all the backs. Now, what you want to do is just make sure that your edges are all black, because after you sand them, they do turn out to be a little bit white, and if you don't like that white edge, you need to cover that up. I'm just using this Folk Art multi-surface satin black paint and a little makeup wedge that's been cut down. And all I'm doing is I'm just going through and getting the little bit of white that's showing. Do you see that white? So I do it so I can see the front, so I can see how hard I am pushing. You barely, barely, barely tap it. And that's just going to give you a black outline, and then we will put a little bit of gold on it too. But make sure you do all of them. Like I said, if you look at the front, you can see if you're pushing too hard, because otherwise you'll you know, push too hard, and then it'll go all over the front, and you don't really want that either. So I just like that little bit of an outline. And it helps the gold just show up, because we're going to put a little bit of gold on there too. I did most of these already. I think I got them all. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing basically with gold. I'm not sure if a wedge will work, but we're going to try. Because my paint's really, really thick. I almost need to thin it down, but I'm going to keep it thick. And I just want to add just a little tiny bit of embellishment of gold on the front too. And I'm more worried about, you know, what the front is doing than the back, so I usually just watch the front. The back's just going to have the gold that's on there. So I'm going to go through all of these and just Give them a tiny little tap around the edges, and then I will be back. Okay, I am back now. I've washed my hands off and put away my wedges and washed those. And I've got my crocodile here for punching holes. And what I'm gonna do is decide where I want my holes. So I'm just gonna look at these. These aren't exactly dry, but they're dry enough that it won't get on me too bad, hopefully. I didn't want to wait, but it is best to wait till they totally dry. I'm just trying to find the tops. Some of these are hard to see. These little card people are really hard for me to see. I think that's the top. I can go either way. We're gonna put the hole on top there. There. All right, your hole does not have to be in the middle. Sometimes I put it on the side. It just depends. These already have marks in the middle because they were made that way. So I will probably put it in the middle for sure there. But sometimes you want it to hang off of a side or something, so it's good to have an option. You can also wait to put your holes until you decide where you're going to put it. That's up to you. I usually just gonna go for it and put them wherever they look best. I am gonna mark just a little mark, so hopefully I can see where I'm gonna put the hole. So you might wanna take a peek at your jump rings and kind of see, you know, what size they are. For instance, this size is typically what I use. So I need to be, you know, within say a 1/16 of an inch or so from the edge there. But like this one's a little further in, so I would have to use one of my larger jump rings on that one. So, but they can go either side or in the middle. It's all kind of going to matter whatever you're putting them on. It's hard to look at the camera and look at what I'm doing. Try not to get her head. Alright, so that's pretty good. It's a little close, but I think it'll be alright. He's gonna fall out. Nope. Nope, still there. Still there. Just trying to get his little head. Good. Alright, I'm gonna zoom back out because it's hard for me to hold it and do it, but you get the idea. So I'm gonna go through and just continue punching holes. Okay, I'm back. They all have their holes punched now, and you just want to add whatever you're going to use to close them up with. It could be a, or attach them with. It could be something like this. These are from Tim Holtz. Come in different sizes. These are some smaller ones. You could add other little charms to it, like these little keys would be cute, especially with the Alice in Wonderland. So you could add little charms. And then there's bulb pins. Let's see if I can find them. There's some black ones. I don't know where the antique ones are. Black is fine though. So you could use bulb pins. And then you got jump rings. I don't know if they were in here, but maybe they are. Alright, I know I just had it. Where'd it go? Oh, it's like I just had it in my hand. So jump rings, a couple different sizes here. And there's things like these you can find. These are silver, but they got like a little lobster claw on them. You can put these through. See if I wanted to do this one. You just stick that in there like this, and then go through like that, and then you can just hook it to whatever. Okay, so you can do that. What's a good one for a key? This one. So we could do that, and then say one of the larger jump rings. Let's go for one of these. Maybe a bulb pin too. So let's try this. So when you're opening your jump rings, you want to look at it and see which direction the little points are. And then you want to have two pliers. Oh, where's my one? Oh, there it is. Looks like I had it. And you want to separate them by twisting them, not pulling them apart. So you twist, okay? Make sure you can see. So you twist it open. You don't pull it out, okay? It's a sideways motion. That way it will lock back in properly. I'm gonna stick that on there. Whoops. Try to stick that back on there. And then you can decide, like, maybe the key will look fine just on there. I don't know if it'll go through that hole. Let's see. Oh, it'll go through. So that's fine. So we'll just put that on there with that. Thought maybe I'd need the bulb pin, but I don't. All right, and then you just twist it back into place. Okay. If you twist it enough, it'll line right back up. Okay, and it should line up and give you a good closure. Okay, but this one now, that's got a little key on there. I think it's cute. And then you can attach them with things like this, or these little lobster claws, or your bulb rings, whatever works. Sometimes to make it lay flat, you may have to use like two different things. That usually helps, because especially bulb pins never lay flat for me. So if I was going to do a bulb pin, I might put that on there. As long as I have a jump ring, I can usually twist one or the other and get it to lay flatter onto the item. But if it won't, I'll play with it. Sometimes I use string or whatever. This jump ring might be a little too big. I could go with one smaller. I thought I would need that big one, but I may not. So I'll just play with it and put jump rings on them. Sometimes I don't bother putting the jump rings on until I'm ready to use them, because I never know what I'm going to do. But that is it in a nutshell, guys. Okay, you also want to make sure that you seal your charms. I've already put all of the jump rings in here, but I've just remembered it and was going to wait to seal them till tomorrow, but I think I'm just going to go ahead and do it. So what I am doing is just adding some of this Distress Microglaze. You can also use like a varnish, like a matte, not that one, it's medium. This varnish, matte varnish, or even a gloss varnish if you want. But this microglaze works pretty good. It's a Tim Holtz thing, or Ranger thing. So, and I like it because it's not real shiny, and you just rub it on and then you buff it off. But it'll protect them, and I'm sure it's some sort of a petroleum thing, which technically I'm allergic to, so we'll see how that goes. But just rub it on. And it covers real easy. I've used it several times. I just wash my hands real good after, because a long time ago I developed an allergy to petroleum products. And I don't know what's in it. I tried to look it up. I could not find a safety data sheet on it. So I have no clue what's in it. And I thought about writing them, but I'm just like, oh well. I could wear gloves, or I can wash my hands real good. I'm not so allergic I'm gonna, like, go into anaphylaxis or something. It makes me itch. It makes me have like uncontrollable itching. So hopefully that's not the case. But anyway, so you just put this on, rub it in. It works really well. And it'll make it waterproof. So basically, if I drop water on this, I'll show you how it'll bead now. I'll move all the others. Try to keep the ones I've done. You can usually kind of tell because they get a tiny, tiny bit of gloss. But this is just some water. But if I put water on it, it's just going to bead up. See how it's just beading? It'll just bead up and roll right off. And it won't affect it anymore. So it's a good way to protect them. So that's it. I just wanted to mention that. I forgot to. So, all right, y'all take care. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you very much. Bye.